Hello, everyone. Welcome back to DevDive, a conversational podcast. We're back. We're doing the thing. It's me. It's Steve Fontana, and it's Andy. Andy Asimakis. How you doing, bud?
It's you. It's me. It's us.
It's us.
I'm good.
We're here, and we
good.
have a returning guest this week, Andy. A returning guest,
Nice.
a 3-time returning guest, because you know what? We love it when our friends are successful. You know what I mean? When our friends go out, put out a hell of a game, and then come back and they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do another one. And we're like, yeah.
We're going to talk about that game.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DevDive, a conversational podcast where we take a deep dive into the world of indie game development and uncover the stories behind the games that we love. On this week's dive, we welcome back to the show Jason Walsh and APE-AHAB to talk about Monster Crown Sin Eater, which is currently live right now on Kickstarter and absolutely crushing it. Gentlemen, Jason, welcome back. APE-AHAB, welcome first time. Welcome to the show. What's going on, guys?
Great to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, you're Jason. You're kind of like, I don't know, maybe Andy, you would probably know because your brain works that way. It's like at least like maybe first dozen shows, right? I feel like
He's like this show royalty.
yeah, indeed.
Like if we had like kings and queens and like, you know, like that level,
Right.
he's up there.
It's like on
would
Hell's
say-
Kitchen when they bring back like older contestants from previous seasons.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
the guy who won last time, they bring him back.
Yes, and when you did, because Monster Crown, awesome game. I actually streamed it a bunch when it first came out. Caught one of them those variants, those really rare variant ones. I forget what they're called.
But then brilliant.
The Brilliance, yes. Caught one of those live on stream. It was like, wait a minute, this seems different. Yeah, and Jason, I think I actually messaged you and like sent you a picture. I was like, is this rare? And you're like, it was like within like the first 4 hours of me playing too. It was great.
It was crazy.
Yeah. So you're back on Kickstarter with a sequel, Monster Crown Sin Eater. But before we get into that, let's introduce you. What do you do? Who are you? And I guess let's start with APE-AHAB, since you're the new face, the new avatar in the box, as it were. Your cute little I don't even know what you could call that.
He's like a monkey guy.
Yeah.
Non-specific monkey guy.
Yeah.
Aren't we all like monkey guys though?
Yeah.
That's not untrue.
Yeah. Well,
Not untrue.
I look more like that than you think. I'm a man of ape-like quality.
It's
And
actually a portrait.
you're all the way across the pond, and you're staying up super late so that we could record this here on a Monday evening our time. It's like early, like, you know, it's still technically, I guess, the nighttime for you on Monday, but you know, you're heading into your Tuesday morning. But APE-AHAB, tell us, who are you and what are you doing with Jason and Monster Crown?
Oh, that's a really hard question because I'm never prepared for it. I'm just a guy who draws stuff, and I sort of stumbled and fell face first into doing Monster Crown one day. And Jason and we've been friends for a few years. We've been collaborators for the same amount of time. I would say it's been the honor of a lifetime to work with him. He really is. He really is like a 1 in a million kind of person that you run into. Where you just like, you understand someone on a very, very, very deep level, and you really get to know them. And we got to work on the first game. I did a few monster designs, not too much. And then we got ready for doing a sequel a few years ago. And I didn't start as the director, I think. I started as doing narrative and art direction. And then it just sort of morphed into, well, APE-AHAB is sort of making all of the important decisions here, so let's make him the game director. And that's what I do now, which is sort of a weird thing to have to explain to family members at weddings and parties and such.
Yeah, I'm a game director. Okay.
What is it? Yeah, what does that mean? It's
That
like,
sounds
well,
cool to me. I don't.
And then you just kind of just, hey, what doesn't it mean, honestly? And
Yeah.
that's actually a good segue to get into Jason, because Jason, when we first met, you were a man beaten. You were just beaten. You were tired and getting your baby out there in the world and working your ass off. And now you get to sit on your piles of money and your yachts as the producer of Monster Crown Sin Eater.
Yeah, that's super accurate. This is not actually fair. It's a pile of money I'm sitting
It's an
on.
adjustable pile of money. Yeah, an ergonomic pile of money you're sitting on.
Yeah, the so I was just a guy that had an idea for a cool tech demo of monsters breeding together, and I made it, and I kind of hoped it would inspire someone else to make a real game of it. People took to it like crazy online. No one else was kind of deciding that they would do it, so I thought I'll try to do it myself. We had a few people that were interested in helping out with art, music, that sort of thing. And we were blown away by how much people came to it. First Kickstarter reached 10 times its goal.
Yep.
It was insane. And everything after that was just trying to scale and live up to what the fans deserved and try to make the dreams of the team come true. And we got in over our head a few times. I know I did, but you keep pushing yourself to try to meet the level, I guess you can, and have that responsibility. And then I got really sick, and that kind of screwed things up. So after Monster Crown 1's development, I was pretty much resigned to not being able to game dev anymore. It was difficult to even, work and pay the bills. But Monster Crown 1 was successful. So the cash kept coming in every quarter. And then AHAB and the current team kind of said, hey, you're kind of over there in the corner, just kind of sick, kind of out of it, and we want to bring the game back, make something new, make something big, and really inspirational to me. And how can you say no to that? And what better way to honor Monster Crown and their fans than taking those funds and invest them back into the game? And that brings us to where we are today. I couldn't be prouder, but it is true that I'm much more hands off than I was in the past.
I gotta say really quickly, between AHAB's really warm and fuzzy, gushy description of you, Jason, and then your history, your struggles, getting sick, this is like the ultimate Hallmark Lifetime movie of the week.
I wasn't prepared for what AHAB was going to say. So
the level of warmth here.
He has a
demographic for this that exists.
Jason, he does not like to speak highly of himself, but I will always speak highly of him.
I mean, when we first had you on, Jason, we gushed about how kind you were and how knowledgeable and passionate you were about Monster Crown, and monster tamers, this genre, especially the pixel art, and just there are so many. I mean, just so many. And even when Monster Crown was ramping up, I remember there being a couple that had come out. I want to say Temtem came out as their official 1.0 launch around that same time. I could be completely making that up, but in my head, they all blended together, right? But Monster Crown stood above for me. And I think just knowing who you were helped that. It kind of pushed it further into that. And I could see why AHAB would latch onto you and want to continue to create Monster Crown, because you are a very cool dude and good person and all that fun jazz. But I do want to get
appreciate that.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said Monster Crown was a success. We rarely get to hear what that means for some of our guests. What is success for Monster Crown? What are we talking about? How did the community receive it? Did you have anything that surprised you when you launched and the months soon after? How is the community built? What is success to Monster Crown?
That's a pretty fully loaded question and a good question. So, I mean, I'd love to just throw out the numbers there right away. We do have NDAs with our publisher, that sort of thing. We had a publisher for the first game. We're not getting a publisher for the second game. So I can't tell you specific numbers, but we're really happy with the numbers that it came back with. It certainly surprised us. I had like the wildest expectations of my hopes for sale numbers. That was just a dream that, like, could you imagine if it hit this number? Well, it didn't quite hit that number, but it was like approaching the ballpark of it. I was quite surprised. Yeah. So as I mentioned, I wasn't prepared for people taking to the game, being interested in it, asking for a Kickstarter, blowing up, that sort of thing. That was crazy. Early access brought a lot of fans as well, and then the full release.
Right.
Due to my health, there were issues with the release. I am still not satisfied to this day with how the release of the first game went, but we do have a long-term plan we established a couple of years ago, right around when we started this game, that we are going to fix everything in time.
Okay.
We do have an approach for that. It's a shame it's not yet, but it is on the way. And yeah, so we do have a lot of fans that are very passionate and very hardcore. We have a group of fans that data mine the game. And I don't know if you're interested in the cutting room floor, websites like that.
Everything.
Go into beta content.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. And we have fans doing that right now. So, like, how many game developers can say that they have these loyal fans that check out the game, that are ready to support it, that want to play it, that investigate every detail? And also, you get to see the cutting room floor group dig into the game, check out the beta content, share it around, theory craft. Not when the game's 20 years old and someone dives into the ROM, but you can see it happen like before the game's even out. Like, how could we, as a nerd that's into like modding games, digging into them, this is like the absolute dream, right? You get it all at once, and incredible luck, and I'm very fortunate to have it. So yeah, just a devoted fan base. The finances are solid, and they made a new project possible when I couldn't do it myself. So yeah, that's huge success to me for sure.
And you didn't have to hire a lawyer to defend a cease and desist from Nintendo. So you also have that. You have that. So great job. Great job.
It's on Switch.
The impending lawsuit.
It's on Switch, so they must go, yeah, all right. They were probably okay with it.
Well, you know, it's different enough, I guess, right? Like you're not stealing them against their will.
We would hope.
That's uniquely Pokemon.
It's so weird, the weird relationship we have with Pokemon. Obviously, it's an inspiration, but so is things like Dragon Quest Monsters and various other games. Even a game Tibia, which is a little known MMO, but someone listening may be familiar with it. Like, all these inspirations came together, and I made sure that every mechanic we added had been done in more than one game in the past. So like the exact combination we do, yes, that's unique, but each individual aspect has appeared in more than one game in the past. So there's nothing that is like just Pokemon or just Dragon Quest Monsters. And we put a lot of effort into giving it a tonal difference. And there was even early testers that were like, the Pokemon didn't show up in this place. And I'd say, no, it's not the Pokemon, it's the monsters. And they're probably like, man, this guy's annoying. It was just a slip of the word. But I was like, no, we got it. We got to make sure we're now Pokemon. And then you can imagine our surprise when we have this feature in the game where if you swap a certain number of times and build up synergy, there's a crown and your monster changes types. And then shortly after, we see a similar feature coming to the Pokemon games. And we have brilliants that are shinies. And then shortly later, we see in Pokemon, there are brilliant shinies. And it's like, I don't know if I focus so much, we tuned into a similar like psychic level, if you believe in that kind of stuff or what. But yeah, it's
wild.
You know what? It might be a much broader conversation to have. But what is your response when you see Nintendo going after a similar game? Like there's a monster catching. Hugely successful, 20 million plus copies sold, and Nintendo's like, you want a piece of that action. What's that like for you, seeing that happen on the sidelines? Yeah, looking at your game, how it's in the same genre.
Yeah, so I mean, Pal World I don't know if you're trying to avoid saying the name. Sorry if I ruined that.
Look
but-
at Power World. That's not like Beetlejuice. I can say the word.
Theoretical
Board
monster
of
taming game.
Monster Tamers.
Yeah, Monster Tamer again, just with machine guns and what a bizarre world we live in.
Pal World is I personally found the Pal World teaser and trailer funny. I did.
Mhm.
I thought it was a funny concept, and I admired their boldness. It wasn't really a game that appealed to me that I wanted to play, but I love to see more entries in the genre and people doing more with monster taming. I was really surprised to hear that Nintendo went after Pal World, and there seems to be a common consensus that it's because they stole models and that sort of thing. And that was really interesting to me, because if they stole models, I want to look into it and see that they did or not. And the more I looked at the comparisons side by side and overlaid them, it honestly looks like they didn't steal models to me. Maybe someone can debunk that and show me exact, but if you actually lay the images over, that it doesn't look like it's like that. And I know that Nintendo is after them for, game mechanics, patents, that sort of thing. I think that's wrong. I think that's a really crappy thing to do. I think it's like just trying to make a fuss where there doesn't need to be one.
Right.
What do you guys think of it?
Nintendo's gonna Nintendo. If something looks like something of theirs, it's really that main one, right? On the cover, like looks like Electivire kind of. It's like, if the first thing you think of is a specific Pokemon, and enough people do that where they start confusing the IP a little bit, like a random mom is gonna be like, when did they throw guns in Pokemon? Like I could totally see someone doing that. Like, I'm not buying Pokemon for my kid. They're shooting them with machine guns. Totally see that as like a thing that could possibly happen. And maybe that's what it comes down to. But also, I think they probably should have not waited till it sold 20 million so that they didn't have the 20 million
That's
copies
exactly
worth of
why they
lawyers.
waited.
Well, I mean, they could probably fight a lot weaker, right? Without that kind of money backing them, but whatever, I digress.
Yeah, but if they win, that's a bigger cut of the pie they can get.
Win, Schmin.
Are you guys familiar with Don Bluth?
No, I'm not.
He worked at Disney, and he left Disney in the mid to late 80s, and he started making his own studio, and a lot of them look like Disney movies. A lot of people even say their top favorite Disney movies, and they've got a Don Bluth movie on there, and it's really not Disney. So I look at that and I say, both of those existed side by side, and it was okay. People could confuse them. Now, if Don Bluth had made horror animation, but it still looked kind of Disney, like, is the problem that it's copy? Is the problem is confusion? Would that have been a problem? With this? Is it not because there's more of a tonal similarity? I don't know. I guess it's its own philosophy, and everyone feels different.
Well, enough of that. I want to talk about Monster Crown Sin Eater, because
hell yeah,
we got some shiz happening here. And Ahab, since you're all up inside this business now, you are the director. I'm sure you're still doing like arts and whatnot for it, I imagine. Tell us. I mean, you kind of went into a little bit of like how you started kind of wanting to make this, and like how you kind of just got Jason's blessing, and now you're kind of just off to the races here. But why did you want to make a second Monster Crown? What was it about it with you and the team that pushed you into this direction?
So shortly after I did my first sort of lot of monster designs for the first game, I got access to a pre-early access version, I want to say. This was a few years ago, so this is like during COVID, so it's all one big smear now. Time is a funny thing. I got to a certain point in the game, after the main story, you go to a different continent, and I was like, holy shit. I don't think a video game has ever made me feel quite so strange. Like I wasn't meant to be looking at this. I wasn't meant to be here. It was not hostile, I guess, but I felt like the game was pushing back at me. And I thought that was a very special feeling. And even in its sort of rough, kind of unpolished state at that time, I realized that there was something very, very special here, something that no one else was doing, something that maybe no one else could do. And I thought, this is really going to be something special. This is where the future is, I think, for the genre. This is where people are going to remember this for a while. And after that, we collaborated on a few more story ideas that we'd floated about. And then when the time came to float around the idea for a sequel, I think we had a couple ideas before Sin Eater, or what would become Sin Eater. It was going to be a much smaller game. It was going to be like an 8 to 10 hour game. It was going to have about 100 monsters in it. And as we started to build it out and create the systems and create the monsters, we realized, hold on a minute, we work very well together. We really undershot the scope here. We can safely expand and make this the sequel that Monster Crown really needs. Not just a sequel that builds on ideas, but something that refines and redefines the same ideas, that creates a solid base for everything else that we're doing. Sin Eater is the linchpin for everything else going forward, and we have a lot of big plans following this game. And I'm really, really excited to get to all that, but this game is definitely a sturdy platform for all of that.
More after this coming? There's more of this happening.
Oh, more and how. You have no idea. It goes as deep and as wide as you can imagine. It's, you know, you look at, I mean, I don't want to call it biblical, but it is kind of biblical at points.
All right. Okay.
It's pretty big.
I mean,
So
that's very exciting, but you know, we don't want to put the cart before the horse
yeah,
here.
No, absolutely. I understand that. Yeah.
Monster Crown. There are a few things, there are many things, but there are a few tentpole things. If you were to say there are the 3 pillars that what makes Monster Crown, Jason, what would those 3 pillars be? And then AHAB, what are you building on with Sin Eater? Are you adding pillars? Are you building those pillars higher? Like, so we'll start with the pillars. Jason, what are the 3 that make Monster Crown Monster Crown?
Okay, 3. All right. That would be the breeding, crossbreeding. It would be responsive depth, which is something we focus on a lot, which means the more you try to get out of it, the more it gives you. So the more you explore, the more you're going to find there is to explore. The more you breed and transform, the more you'll find there is to breed and transform. And to reward the hardcore players. And the third, I think, would just be a very deeply thought out tone that underlies everything we built the world and the characters on top of, to give it a distinct feeling that is familiar but not derivative and treading the same ground, and offers its own mystery.
All right. Now, AHAB, you have the daunting task to build off of these pillars. For me, like, and Andy, I don't know if you feel the same way, but obviously the creativity of just combining and breeding and figuring out cool new combinations that you want to use, but also you have a unique way of like you said, the world's tone is very different, and even how you get monsters to join your team is very different. It's not just, you know, like hunting and, you know, whatever. You're kind of showing them that you're a worthy person to like sign a contract to kind of join you as, you know, a monster mercenary, as it were. Two totally unique situations, and build a whole world off of that. AHAB, how are you building off of these pillars that Jason laid out?
So on the first one, the crossbreeding system, in this one, it's been a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to understand. So even someone who is new to the game can get a lot out of it. Trying to make it as easy as possible for people to get something cool, and then also have the same amount of complexity underneath it, that you can really create something that's in the numbers very special, something that will take you all the way through the game, maybe. Most of that is almost entirely user interface stuff, but there's also stuff that we've added to monsters as a concept. So now we have traits. Every monster has a positive and a negative trait.
Mhm.
And the idea is that one parent passes down their positive, the other parent passes down the negative. And what this does is it creates a sort of decision-making process for people where they have to go, what is an acceptable trade-off for what I'm trying to do here? So now you're thinking, you're making decisions, you're looking at things in a lot greater detail than maybe you would before, where it was just smashing big numbers together.
Okay. All right.
On the second point, responsive death. Has Jason's camera gone off?
Yes.
Whoops.
I'll play. It's all right. I was playing the trailer anyway. It's okay. All right. Oh,
Yeah.
I gotta move
Okay,
everyone back
here-
around. Hold on.
here-
Keep going. Keep going. All right, we're good. We're back to normal.
Okay. So on responsive depth, that happens on a minute-to-minute level when you're interacting with monsters on the overworld. Not every monster just runs at you now. Some of them will run away. Some of them will keep their distance and then attack you. So you have to kind of like bait them in or catch up to them. There's a bait system now. You can put bait on the floor and they'll come towards it. And then you sort of jump in while they're distracted. And that's how you get some monsters. There was a choice in Monster Crown, a pivotal story choice. And it would determine what ending you got. That is now done dozens and dozens and dozens of times throughout the game. Every side quest in the game has more than one ending to it, and it will greatly affect how you interact with people, how people see you in the world, what you'll have access to. We try not to gate monsters behind this. Typically, we think that's a bit unfair, but some opportunities will become easier or more difficult. And we try not to make it like linearly good or bad. It's very much are you a sort of pragmatist? Are you an idealist? The decision is not as simple as, shoot a guy in the face or don't shoot a guy in the face, as it happens in some games. You got Mass Effect where they basically just label the good and bad options for you. We don't want to do that. We definitely don't want to do that.
Just to elaborate on that a little bit, because you're piquing my interest here. Are there? I would assume it's more of like a cascading situation where you're not just like, here's 15 different ways you can do this. It's more like, figure out a way to do this, and then kind of everything kind of plays out from there. Like, how do you present the choices where it both makes it feel like you are making a choice, but not necessarily that you're making a choice that's necessary, if that makes sense?
So sometimes you'll be presented with a small number of choices, and maybe they are very easy to understand at first. And then from there, it will branch into something a little bit more complicated, and there will be nuances between the decisions you make. Sometimes they're not that big. Sometimes they are very big. So different people, they might say, oh, I didn't get that when I did this quest. You must have done something different. And they'll be a bit more attentive when they're looking at the characters and the dialogue.
So it's not necessarily, sorry to cut you off, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around it as like someone who will play this.
Yeah.
It's not just dialogue choices. Like, what are some of these mechanical choices that a player would be making? Is it like where you go? Is it the monster you bring? Is it like, or is it any combination of a million different ways? Like,
if I can interrupt real quick,
please do.
If I can interrupt real quick, we take a lot of care over what we say early. So I will say, Ahab, you feel free to say as much as you'd like to illustrate this.
Just a couple of examples. Like, it doesn't have, you don't have to go into every system. Just
so there is one big system. It's not in the demo because it happens, of course, over the entire story.
Okay.
There is something you can do to power up the protagonist to make him a more viable combatant. This comes at an invisible cost, though. People will start to notice that something is weird about you, and they will start to react to you in a very, like, they'll regard you with suspicion. Maybe they just don't want to talk to you now. Maybe because you've done this, you've messed something up, and now that is a consequence of what you've done to achieve this power. You've burned some people along the way. We also have stuff like faction side quests. There are 3 big factions that you can enlist the help of. You have to pick one, or you can pick none of them and just tell them all to shove it if you really, really want to. And they all intersect at various points. There's hopping on points and hopping off points. They meet, they separate, and at those junctures, you will find a very complex and intricate web that has been very carefully planned, such that you might accidentally burn them all, or you might end up with a situation where 2 of them are supporting you at once and you have to pick, and they come together at the end and they have to fight because they are opposed by their principles.
You making Fallout over here? Or are you making friggin' monster?
Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas are some of my most beloved, most dearest games. I have too many hours.
Clearly, it shows.
The dialogue system that we have in the game is inspired by Fallout a great deal, because in a lot of these games you'll walk up to an NPC and they'll say sort of a canned line about the world, or they'll say something completely stupid. And there are still some characters who say completely stupid things, but they tend to be stupid people. There's a lot of, to learn things, you have to talk to people, you have to extract information from them, you have to make note of it in your head, what they're telling you. Sometimes they might not even be telling you the truth. You have to really think about what's being said, how it's being said.
Oh, shit.
Compare information.
Now
you're going to get lied to.
Circle for doubt.
You're gonna
doubt. No. This guy's sending me my death. Doubt.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like in Deus Ex where one of the characters, she tells you to go infiltrate a police station as a mission, and in like any other game, the infiltrate a police station mission would be like this big sort of like stealth mission or something, and then you have multiple ways in. No, it's a death trap. Doing that for her is just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's the wrong option.
Unless you're gonna put some cheat codes. Come on, man, get your game genie.
Or you're really, really good at the game, like I am.
All right.
But yeah, there's so much to bite into, and the game bites back a lot too.
Man, I would never have guessed that what my monster taming games need more of is Fallout. Never.
You'd be shocked.
The way you describe it,
honestly, like
where was this before?
it makes all the sense in the world when you look at, like Jason said before, like the tone of this world is not a whimsical, like, kids going out and becoming best friends with their monsters. Like, this is like
it's called Sin Eater for a reason.
Yeah, it's a gritty.
It's really setting the stage.
It's a gritty world. I feel like this could be
Definitely.
like a, the Full Metal Alchemist to Pokemon.
Oh, Jason and I bond over Full Metal Alchemist. We are big Full Metal Alchemist. I think he's got a tattoo. Do you want to show that off on the camera, or are you?
Oh my!
Depends on where it is.
Yeah, it depends on where it is. I
think it's on his arm. I don't think it's anywhere embarrassing.
Full Metal Alchemist is extremely a compliment, but yes, I do. I don't know if I can really show it with my shirt here, but it's the.
It's a little. It's there.
My camera's kind of reversed, so it's a bit. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like it does have whimsy to it, but it's like the other side of the whimsy coin, as it were.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of there's not like no levity at all. There's comedy, there's funny stuff in it, and it's a lot of like dark comedy.
Yeah.
Ooh, pardon me. It's a lot of dark comedy, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, whatever.
The Zack Snyder of
don't.
Yeah, I'm with him. Don't.
Yeah, I
got some choice words about Zack Snyder for wasting 4 hours of my fucking time.
Tim Burton's Pokemon, maybe. Tim Burton's like Pocket Monsters.
It's an A24 production of Pokemon.
Yeah. It's the HBO show that goes for 6 seasons and has a crap ending, but everyone likes it.
Isn't that just how it is?
Yeah.
So we are at, I think you're about a week into your launch here, I believe, as of recording. You have beaten your goal. Your goal is set. You're done. And now it's all gravy boat from here. You have over 500 and you have 578 backers right now. It has not done the like auto refresh thing just yet as I'm clicking it. So it could have changed by now.
I'm looking at the dashboard right now. We're set at 578 backers at 109%. So it's pretty good.
Sweet nectar. Just high level. One from each of you. What has surprised you about this launch from a feedback perspective? What are things that people are looking forward to the most after you started showing this to people? We'll start with Jason.
How about we start with AHAB, because that gives me a minute to think.
Okay, that's fine.
I didn't see that coming.
I was hoping Jason would go first, so I have a minute to think. I guess what surprised me the most was that people were sort of going into it and they were really interested in the world. They were interested in how big it was for a demo. And game demos, for a hot minute there, they kind of went the way of the dodo. No one was doing game demos for a very long time. So I guess my expected scale for a demo is completely out of whack, because a lot of people are saying this is a really fucking big demo. And I guess it is. It's like a quarter of the world map. And I just never sat down and considered just how much we were giving. But it doesn't have any story in it. So the best is still saved for release, I suppose.
That's all. I'm reading some of your comments on your Kickstarter. A lot of people returning some questions about breeding and how you've changed or refined it. Actually, that could be a good conversation. How is you touched it a little bit about the traits, the negative and positive traits. Are there any other major differences to that whole system?
We kind of wanted to keep it sort of simple at its core. Cynia is on a new engine, so we didn't want to go too super crazy with new features that we couldn't provably test in a reasonable amount of time. Mm-hmm. I guess one of my own criticisms of the game, from my perspective as someone who's making it, is that it is somewhat too conservative for me. But rest assured that in later titles, we will be expanding on that as much as possible, finding new exciting ways to bring all manner of monsters to people to help people get their ideal monster squad.
Traits, like abilities, are a big deal. They do make a big impact, and they add a whole other layer to needing to be methodical about how you breed if you want the best. You can certainly go in there and just start mashing things together. That's totally fine. But if you want to get into the high level, you need to look at that. Also, the first game had a fixed set of color palettes. So they were literally like little 2-pixel images with 2 colors that were passed down through generations and used for monsters. Kyle, great programmer on the new game, of course, no brainer. He just has it store the colors, which sounds like not that different, but it's actually huge, because that means things like brilliant monsters can pass down very specific colors that aren't built into the game, but emergent combinations and ways to influence those we're looking into.
Wow.
So that adds a dimension to it as well.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm kind of blown away at the scale that you're bringing Monster Crown to. Like, it's just so funny, right, Andy? Like, we just knew it back then. Like, we knew when Monster Crown was first coming around. We knew it was going to be important, and here we are. You're doing the thing.
Listen, I really appreciate, that because there was times I didn't know we were going to make it. So, yeah, like you guys obviously had some intuition on it, and I'm so glad that we had this crew come out that wanted to continue with it, because there was times that it was dark for me, and I wasn't sure there was a future for it. So I'm really glad the way it worked out.
Thank you, crew.
Well, you know what else you're making? You're going to be designing a monster attack, because I just got that tier on the Kickstarter.
Oh wow! Thank you.
Oh shit!
A little
Very nice.
competition at some point. We'll get back to you.
Indeed. Indeed.
Well, you will be working with me on that, and you'll be working with our very talented animator Matthew, who is just knocking it out of the park. He's a really great guy who I've known for a few years, and I brought him onto this project because I knew he was exactly what we were looking for with animation specifically.
Mm.
You guys are owed an NPC tier because it was in the talk.
Well,
And then-
wow.
And then everything
He
went
said it, not
crazy,
us.
and I got so sick. But yeah, you guys will get a NPC.
I was
Really
actually
well.
going to ask Ahab if he had anything to do if that assignment ever came across your desk to design 2 dock workers that were just going to say really dumb shit to the player. But I guess we know the answer.
Dumb people exist.
Well,
and
Dumb
thank you
people
for
do
it.
exist.
The NPC design tier is, I haven't quite figured out where everyone's going to go, but it's probably going to be something like a stadium type thing where you have all the NPC backers come in with their teams and they'll fight you, and they'll be sort of very fun for players to
We
go
want
in.
quest line though.
Question,
not this NPC
question,
stuff.
question.
Give us some bullshit.
Question.
dumb
Request.
things we
Request.
give you to do.
Can we
Okay.
be the commentators?
Cool idea.
Yeah, sure. If yeah, we can wangle that.
Play by play, color guy, calling the monster fighting,
I didn't have like a stringent idea.
one-liners coming up.
We can wangle that for sure.
Listen,
Can you guys do a
Really dumb
Pokemon
puns.
Stadium announcer voice?
I
There's
certainly
no
can.
voice in the game, but I'm just interested now.
Listen, I could record shit for you and throw it through so many compression tools. You guys aren't gonna know what hit you. You're not gonna know what hit you. I've done it before.
It's gonna sound like the Pikachu voice lines from Pokemon Yellow. It's gonna sound horrible.
It's funny because the first game's monster cries, 90% of them, maybe 99% of them, are my voice trying to make voices and then like changing the pitch and crushing the
Hell yeah,
audio levels. So yeah,
I got
We're
you.
not doing that again. We're doing
No.
all original. We're doing all original cries, and we're
yeah.
looking at like different ways to make the hybrid ones interesting. So we're looking at stuff like
Oh wow.
splicing them in the middle,
Oh, that's so
overlaying them,
Cool.
That's so
pitch
cool.
shifting them based on type, making them faster or slower. There's a lot of stuff to take into account, but it's definitely going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out from an audio perspective.
That's incredible. If you're browsing this Kickstarter, what the hell are you looking like? What are you waiting for, bro?
Yeah,
Come on.
the demo's free. What more do you want from me?
What do you want from
And the
me?
demo's so good.
It's free, man. You get a free
Yeah.
video game. Hold on. I've got a Discord message right here that someone has spent 54.2 hours on this demo.
Wow.
Oh,
So-
man.
Which is nuts because it's like a quarter of the world map and maybe 40 monsters. They're spending 54 hours on it.
Oh my God. I mean, like you said, the more you dig, the more you find, right, Jason?
Yeah.
Like you keep going. I assume those systems are built in, whether or not they just hit a brick wall and they're like, okay, you're done with all the crap you can do, whatever. But oh man, this is gonna be my Steam Deck experience, I think.
Oh yeah, people get hooked on this. When they did the Frostbite demo for the first game like years and years ago, people sunk hours and hours into that. It's like very clear to me that fusing and breeding these monsters is like crack for some people. You know, they just take they get one pop and they don't stop. They just keep going and going and going. And it's really fun to see people even break the system in ways that I wasn't expecting. But it's still cool because it's such an emergent system that you put all the pieces there and you say, all right, make something out of it. And they make something out of it. It's like, how in God's name did you figure this out?
I mean, that was Jade Cocoon for me, right? Like, probably more specifically Jade Cocoon 2. I just remember just sitting there and like, what can I do now? Same thing with Dark Cloud with the weapons. It was just like, what can I do now? Just throw 2 things together and see what happens.
Definitely.
Okay. Like, it's just,
Is
there's
Dark
something
Cloud
about
too.
it. What? Don't talk about Dark Cloud.
Everything goes back to Dark Cloud. With
It
you.
always goes back to Dark Cloud. Dark
the
Cloud and
6
Jade
degrees of
Cocoon are
Dark
very
Cloud.
specific summers in my head. Like those 2 games like ran an entire summer for me, I feel. They're just it's core memory forever. Much like our first and second interviews with Jason.
You guys are too kind.
Core memories.
Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, no, this was great. But you're not getting away with. You're not going to get away now. You know the deal. We have
now. It's like more is gonna happen. Like it's
Yeah.
post Kickstarter.
yeah. We have.
It's starting to look
Relaunch.
like Monster Crown is going to
post-launch.
have a long future. Yeah. We're building things in a way that, like, there are games that are thrown out on Kickstarter and they go crazy. And for us, like, we've never had a point that we went viral, really. I mean, maybe the first Kickstarter was borderline, but we just slowly build, things get better, our fan base increases, it's stable, and that's all we want. We just want to work together as a group, make better monster games every time, make it stable so the team gets paid. Like, that is plenty for us, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all the time about how when we get a fan for a real long time. Some of these people who are backing, they've been in this Discord, they've been in this community for 5, 6, 7 years. And it's just insane to see that kind of dedication. It's not flavor of the month. It's not a fad. It's a rolling stone, and it's picking up more speed as it goes. And it's just going to keep picking up more and more and more. And we don't make our games for the fans, really. I mean, they like what we put out, but we make games for us at Studio. We make games, we put ourselves into it, and it creates something that I think is like really personal and really distinctive in an identity way, more than other games who might be concerned with, well, how is it going to be seen on YouTube or Twitter? You know, is it going to reach the people it's going to reach? Of course, Monster Crown is going to reach the people it's going to reach because it's made by weirdos for weirdos, right? So if you're a weirdo, you're going to like the game.
That philosophy works because we are monster-taming nerds, and that same philosophy would be a disaster if we made a genre we don't enjoy. I can guarantee you it would be trash. You know,
I'm not going to make like a sports game. You know, I don't know. I don't know anything about making sports games.
That would be like me and Andy reviewing, like doing a podcast about soap operas or something.
It's not our wheelhouse. Yeah, we do have a couple of sort of internal pitches for games that are not Monster Crown, sort of floating around, and we're looking at it. We're seeing like, what can we do? How can we branch out to offer people something that's not Monster Crown, or even something that is Monster Crown but not an RPG? So I've got this idea of a racing game that uses the crossbreeding system as like car parts, and you smash cars together and you make new cars out of that. I don't know if I'll ever get to make it. I don't know, but we'll see. It pays to have a bunch of ideas in your pocket, and it pays to think about them a lot. And it pays to make a note of them as well, because if you forget, David Lynch says this, God rest his soul, but if you forget a good idea you have, there's a very, very strong desire to kill yourself when you forget it, because it's disastrous. It's like, oh no, what was I thinking of? I can't remember.
That's why no matter what, if I'm laying in bed, if something comes to brain, I have to write it down. It doesn't matter what it is. If I feel like it's good enough, like I play Dungeons and Dragons. If I have an idea for a character, or I have an idea for like something within the campaign I'm running, I'm like, I gotta. That's such a cool. Even if it's just a line, like just a line of dialogue.
One line of dialogue, or like one part of a character design. I skip the part where I forget things when I sleep by not sleeping. That's my life hack.
Yeah, well, you're young. That's what it is. You're young.
I don't feel young. I really don't feel young at all.
You're up at 1 a.m. 2 a.m. You're awake at 2 a.m. Which is a telltale sign that you're probably in your 30s or or late 20s.
I'm in my 20s.
Late 20s at most.
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm in my 20s though. I definitely feel a few years older than that. Some people call me an old man because I guess I just feel like an old man to them.
Maybe you have an old soul. You know?
Perhaps.
No, they say you have an old soul. That just means you're boring, by the way. Don't let people tell you have an old soul.
Can I trade it in and get a new one?
I mean, I guess Maybe
do they
Monster
do
Crown
they
3
do
Soul
do
Forger.
they do trade-ins on souls at like GameStop or something over there? Is that a thing that you guys have?
You can't go to
No.
the GameStop's only going to give you like 1/18th of a soul in return.
Damn.
You don't
I
want
remember
that.
you used to trade in like one Xbox 360 games. You could pick up like 10 PS2 games.
Yeah, those were the days. Now you can't find a GameStop because they closed
Yeah.
1,000 more of them.
Yeah.
But you don't have to worry about that. You're selling shit digitally, baby. Let's go.
I wish we had the facilities to do a physical copy, like a big, like those old big box releases for PC, like Neverwinter Nights. You got those fat boxes.
Man.
Neverwinter
Like
Nights was like a
it was like that thick.
yeah, Neverwinter Nights and Neverwinter Nights 2 and all of the expansions just dominated my childhood. I played the crap out of those. Such good games. I would probably not think too highly of them if I went back to them now. Having played a lot more RPGs, I'd probably go, this is a bit crap in it. But no, it's having something on your shelf is nice. It's just a nice thing to have. Having something physical and tangible in your hands to hold, it's like a real validating experience, I guess. We had that with the TCG, where it was like, wow, we spent a lot of time on this TCG and we have physical cards that we can hold in our hand. That's nuts. How many people can say that they've made a whole trading card game and sold it to people? Not many.
Not
but
many.
we are the lucky few.
Well, speaking of being the lucky few, we have a few minutes left. So we're going to hit you with a few lucky questions.
Oh boy.
Yes, it's time for rapid fire. It is a staple here of DevDive.
Do you have a Patreon?
Do we have what?
Patreon.
We do.
Okay, so the rapid fire questions, do they come from your Patreon?
No, they should though. We should open that up to our Discord. By the way, our Patreon's patreon.com/IndieRift. And we want to thank our Patreon producer, Colton the Journeyman Nestler. Thank you so much for all of your support. And remember, folks, if you join our Patreon, you get into our Discord where you can hang out with us and our developer friends all day and just hang out, talk about video games and fun stuff. And you can all yell at Buzz Killington. It's basically what we all do in there.
Is he like the Discord punching bag or something?
He's like the he is a self-proclaimed like parody troll. Like he trolls for the lols, but like it's so obvious that he's doing it. And then there's a few people that just get so mad about it. and so sometimes we just watch them just
it's
like
sometimes like don't intervene, just let it happen. It's like watching someone do something exceptionally stupid in public. Is like, do I tell them? Tell
your friend. No. Let's just let him cook. Let him cook.
It would be too easy to tell him to stop.
Ahab, you're sleeping. It's the middle of the night. Your phone rings. Bring.
Right.
It's the constable, because you're over there across the pond.
Right.
Jason has been arrested. What is his crime?
Oh Lord.
What is Jason's crime?
What is Jason's crime?
Jason's crime is probably something like he's kidnapped animals for like a blood sacrifice that he's doing in his basement.
Sweet Jesus.
Holy shit.
I was thinking
he was so quick with that too.
I was thinking kidnapping animals to like set them free, but we went straight to blood sacrifice. That's impressive. That's impressive. Goodness gracious.
Like capture a squirrel in the woods and like put it in a cage. You're free now.
I mean, there are some disconcerting photos that people have dug up from the first game's data. Lots of strange symbols, lots of blood splatters. It's not out of the question that he's already done it. He may strike again. Okay.
Look out.
I have heard that there are ritual-esque photos hidden deep within Monster Crown, but it's a rumor. I think.
Listen, I don't want to hear no rumors. I want to hear the truth. Like, Jason, what did Ahab do when you got the phone call in the middle of the night?
You can't incriminate me here because I've told you what laws I've broken before. You can't out me for things I've actually done.
I think he would be in trouble for finally putting the wrong person on Twitter in their place for some dumb opinion. if things over there are that dystopian yet, the guy here got shot for disliking the premiere on Twitter. So
I'm not even on Twitter anymore. I tried to get myself banned as a sort of last hurrah by telling Elon Musk to do something very. Well, I won't get you demonetized by saying it
Very
out loud.
uncomfortable, like in the back of a Volkswagen.
I not quite. I may have implied that he might do something to himself that may.
Oh, yeah.
Incur some bodily harm. And I only got I only got a 12-hour suspension for that. It's like, well, what was the point of that?
That's not so bad.
But like you made me deactivate because I wanted to deactivate anyway. I didn't want to be on Twitter anyway. It's a terrible website.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping to go out with a bang. So that's not too far off, I think.
Yeah, not bad. Andy, let's get some more rapid fire before we head out.
I got one. I think also for the both of you. So we'll start with Jason first. Jason, if I was the sin eater devouring Ahab's sin, would I pass out from a food coma or die of starvation?
Die of starvation.
I don't. I don't agree with that. I certainly don't agree with that.
There's a deep moral reason for everything Ahab does, so I don't think there would be any true sins. That's just
I guess I'd have to say the same back to Jason. Only I actually mean it because I don't know if he's I don't know if he's capable of.
Yeah, I don't think it's a capacity.
I don't think he's even looked at someone like with negativity.
I'm a loose cannon. I'm a bad boy.
Oh, look out! Finger guns! Look out! Here he comes!
Yeah, look,
here he comes! Look, he almost had his.
Lock up your daughters.
He almost
even shown off. He's even shown off his tattoo. I don't have a single one.
Wow!
He did.
Bad boy for life.
So there you have it. There you have it.
Okay. Well, you guys are creating a new breed of monster. What is the positive and what is the negative trait you are passing down?
Who first?
I don't know.
Well, like if we had traits.
Yeah, your traits. Your negative and your positive trait that you're passing down. Flip the coin.
I don't know. That's a really difficult one. I guess I'd pass down the trait that makes every monster use twice as much MP. It's like a pressure thing.
Oh, okay.
And I guess my negative trait would be the heavy one because I'm a man of ape-like quality. So that's mine.
Okay.
For me, I think it would be you have the drive and will to want to climb Mount Everest, but your body will shatter on contact with anything.
Glass cannon. Yeah. I get it. Andy, what do you got, bud?
If you have an Andy and Steve monster fusion, do you take that beast and put it in your starting lineup, or do you take it in the back and shoot in the face?
I mean, could be useful if you like just have it up front as like a meat shield, maybe. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's not.
What are your guys' types? Like, what are your types? And the types are
alcoholic.
Is there a type for just shit person? Because I think Andy
malicious.
Fits the mold there.
It'd be malicious type.
Klepto, corruption. Yeah,
yeah, that's textbook malicious type. Yep.
Let's see. What do I have? I would say, and Andy, step in anytime. I would dedefinitely have a bit of that.
Yeah.
Choice paralysis, is that a thing, or like or like what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh yeah, so you can't go into crowds. Would you go into a town? You can't.
Yeah, like if you go into a shop and there's like multiple items to purchase, he just faints. He's like, no, I'm done, man. No, I have how many moves? I'm sorry, what? No. No. I'll give
And
you
there's
one,
choice
bud.
in this game?
I'll give you one or two. You're not getting 4 moves? No. I'm sorry.
You well, in Monster Crown, you can have up to 6. So it's even
6?
worse.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's my
It's-
negative trait. When you breed with this guy, your monster's getting 2 abilities. That's it. Tops. They'll be good. They'll be real good. He'll give it
One
his
is Flea,
all.
and the other
One is Flee and one is Scream. You're gonna get one of the, but both of those for sure. You might also get Fling Poo. You might get that ability. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. God. All right. Let's see. Let's switch gears a little bit here. I always like these. I like food questions. They're always my favorite. What is the best cheese to make a grilled cheese sandwich? And I believe they call them something different across the pond.
They call them cheese toasties.
Cheese
yes.
toasties, yes, a cheese toasty.
Toasties.
Yes.
I can't say I've ever had it with anything other than like plain old cheddar.
Cheddar, okay.
I like my cheese, but I'm not like a grilled cheese guy, really.
What I had for dinner. It's on my mind.
I'm not a grilled cheese guy either, but my fiance is, so I make them a lot. So based on that experience, I'm thinking that the ideal cheese is not cheese at all. It's American slices or similar, not to be compared with dairy style products.
Right. A processed cheese product. American cheese is made with cheddar as its base. I don't know if you know that.
Okay.
Yes, it's just it's chemicalized to be different. I don't know why.
Well, it's very famous because I'm in Canada and we still buy it says American slices on the
Kraft singles, I guess you call them, right? Kraft, whatever.
We have those too. Yeah, those are for if you got a little extra spending money.
That's if you hate yourself. Yeah, that's if you just hate being around people. There's something about ripping a piece of cheese out of its individually wrapped plastic that just really I'm good. I'm good. Andy, let's get one more and then
It's satisfying.
and we'll head out.
It's like when you peel off the little cigarette pack cellophane.
No.
Some kind of pleasure you get. It's like
I get that a lot. I worked retail for a little bit, and I took up smoking specifically just to get smoke breaks.
Yeah,
and then once I was done, I just put it down again, and it's like, you know what? I can see why people do it. I can see why people I can see why that work drives people to smoke.
Yeah, no bueno.
Let's see. Ahab, if you could pick any song that would play when Jason walked into the room, what song would that be?
Because I am an evil, vindictive person. What's the name of the chicken song? It's like
The chicken dance.
Chicken.
You got
That's
it.
the one.
You got
Yes,
it. You nailed it.
I would have that follow him around everywhere for the rest of the time.
Wow, horrible.
Oh, man. Jason, same question.
He can't even come up with like a mean answer to come back with because he's not a mean person.
I can't maybe just to troll him, like Carly Rae Jepsen discography, the whole thing.
Yeah,
the whole thing. Wow.
You never know what you're up to there. All right.
That's like a torment
shuffle
nexus.
through.
It's horrible.
And our final question, and this is the third time Jason will be answering this question. Who knows? He maybe have forgotten the ceremonial final question. Probably has.
I have forgotten, unfortunately.
Indeed. Well, you must come up with a consensus answer between the two of you.
Okay.
The question is, Andy or Steve?
Oh.
That's it. That's the only information you get.
Left Twix, right Twix, basically, is what we're being asked here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like a kindred spirit with Andy because he too has shared in the delights of opening a fresh cigarette packet. So I'm gonna have to go with Andy.
Oh, well,
I feel a connection.
I understand.
I think if I was trying to get through a tough time, like a long journey, I go with Andy. And I think if I had to get in a fight, I take Steve because you
That's
got that
interesting.
that frenetic energy and
very
seem kind of
interesting.
athletic.
That is right.
Yeah.
That
That
is
is that
Yeah,
he
is
plays hockey, so that's a good bet for you.
Wow.
yeah. That's
That's
oh yeah, I do. I play hockey. Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
This
you
is
do.
in Canada, right?
well,
And
yeah.
he's Italian, so
If
he's
you
got, you know.
yeah,
it
learning how to
helps.
fight, I hear, is a prerequisite to playing hockey.
I'm a
You
goalie,
just-
so I really don't have to do it. Although I have said
Oh.
multiple times that if it comes down, yeah, you know what? We'll tell it off camera. We'll tell a quick little story off camera. But that's gonna bring us to the end of this awesome show. We've had a great time. I had a great time. I hope you did, Ahab and Jason.
Absolutely.
This was an absolute pleasure.
It really was.
Where could everybody? I mean, obviously the Kickstarter, the link will be in the description. I know you might be off X for now, but are you on any other social platforms? Are you on Blue Sky or anything like that?
I am on Blue Sky. My Blue Sky is at ape-ahab.com. It's the same as my website, so it's the same address both ways. You can also follow the Monster Crown Blue Sky at monstercrown.bluesky.social. Should be pretty easy to find. We do mirror all of our posts. It's just a sensible thing to do now. We get a surprising amount of traffic on Blue Sky.
Blue Sky's great. I love Blue Sky.
It's there's less users, but they are definitely more enthusiastic over there about indie stuff, about art, about everything. You get a lot more genuine interaction over there, and I really like that. It's a more
curated experience with a lot less bots. And even though the bots do show up and they try to follow you, and you're just like, no, stop it. I don't. Put on clothes, please.
Every so often I see is like, those boobs are AI generated.
Yeah,
you can't fool me.
Why are you following me? I'm 30. I'm a 38-year-old dad.
I am already spoken for, unfortunately. So
yeah. Leave me alone, lady. If that is your real name.
Yeah.
XOXO booba. XOXO. Jason, where could everybody find you?
Just the Monster Crowns, though. I don't really maintain a separate social media.
Awesome. Very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to bring us to the end of the show. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Ahab. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. Everybody, don't forget to share the show. Go check out the Monster Crown Sin Eater Kickstarter. Go support if this is your jam. If it's not your jam, support them anyway, because I said so. Anyway.
It's a free demo
and check
as well.
The Patreon. And
yes,
subscribe.
check their Patreon and engage in the rage bait in their Discord.
That's right.
Patreon. Play the free demo.
Indie Rift. Do it.
Our free demo is on Steam and itch. It's on itch.io
as well.
on
itch as well.
If you're not a Steam guy, you can get it on itch. And we're eyeing up a GOG release as well. I think we'll be looking to put it on there as well.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, listeners. And as always, please be excellent to each other.